right along. This next speaker, I'm pleased to announce his presence. This is someone who, when he first came on the scene along with his wife, was talking about building the most absolutely beautiful tiny house I've seen in a long, long time. You may have seen his picture. He's often barefooted in his loft with a guitar. I would like to present to you Mr. Andrew Morrison.
I want to talk about a few different things. I want to start out with some pretty simple concepts and then move a little bit deeper into some more inner journey kind of work. I like to do sort of deep emotional work when I'm in small, intimate crowds like this. It just makes it easier for people to feel safe. You know, they can kind of drop in and tell us their deepest, darkest secrets. So we're going to go there later. So it should be a lot of fun. Hey, Keith, how's it going? So one of the things I want to kind of pick up where Zach left off a little bit in talking about the scale of things. So I like to talk about it as human scale. People talk to me about tiny houses. So what's a tiny house? Is it 200 square feet or less, or no, it's 100 or less? You know, that's the real hardcore people. I live in a tiny mansion. It's 207 square feet. So it barely even makes the cut, you know, especially if you add the lofts. So, but the reality is it's not about what's a tiny house. My sister just downsized into a 4,000 square foot house. Okay, so for her, that feels really small, which, I mean, I can have my own story about what that means to me, but to her, that feels really small. So if you're used to living in a large space, you're probably not going to go from a 5,000 square foot house to a 200 square foot house and feel good about it. It's going to be a pretty serious transition for anyone who tries to do that. So what I talk about is living in human scale. So it's not about the square footage, it's about what's appropriate for you. If you're a family of 5, you probably don't want to live in an 87 square foot house. I don't care how much you love each other. That's not going to work out very well for most people. So look at what's really right for you. And the only way to really do that is to really know who you are and who your family is and what your needs are and all of those things. So that's something that we want to make sure we're keeping track of amongst ourselves.
Louder? Is that better? I will speak like this for the rest of the presentation.
Which would be really awkward. Okay, so a couple steps. Some of the things have anyone seen my TEDx talk? Anyone? Nice. That was kind of shameless on my part, but I had to do it anyway. So some of the stuff I'm going to talk about is in that TEDx talk. If you haven't seen that, check it out online. You can look up Andrew Morrison, TEDx, and tiny houses, and I'm sure it'll show up somewhere. One of the things I talk about that is a rule that Gabrielle and I used when we downsized, and it's called the 365-day rule. And basically what that means is if you haven't used something in your house in the last year, you probably don't need it, and you can get rid of it. So you can sell it, you can donate it, you can do whatever you want with it. Apparently you can turn it into amazing circuit board jewelry and things like that. There's lots of stuff you can do. Repurposing, right? So there are options. But you can look at that from a full year's perspective. You could say, okay, I haven't used this, whatever, in a year, I'm going to get rid of it. Or you can go home tonight and look at your house and look through your kitchen, look through your living room, look through all those places in your house and say, when was the last time I used this? I don't really even remember what this is. Okay, I probably don't need it. And let go of those things. And it may seem hard in the beginning. You may say, well, wow, I really need this, or I really want this, or I have a great story attached to this. That's all cool, and that's all true, and you can still let it go. That's the cool thing. One of the hardest things for me to let go of when we did our downsizing was my backpack that I used. I used to follow the Grateful Dead around on tour, and it was a lot of fun. Right? Okay, there's a couple heads out here. That's cool. So the hardest thing was for me to get rid of that backpack. I had so many stories in the backpack. It was the most uncomfortable backpack in the world. I never used it anymore, but I still had it because of the stories. And the reality is when I got rid of it, I think about that backpack and the stories associated with it way more now than I did when it was tucked into my attic. It just didn't really exist for me. Now it's part of my consciousness and I'm aware of it and I think about those stories all the time. So that's kind of a cool thing. So you can go home and you can do that today. Just start letting stuff go. Another thing, does anyone like shopping? Does anyone like to go shopping? Whoa, cool. That's amazing. This is like either the most non-shopping crowd or you're all lying because nobody wants to say it in front of a tiny house crowd. I get it. That's fine. So I don't mind shopping personally. I think shopping can be fun. But when I go shopping now, I totally rethink the patterns of how I shop. If I go out, even just grocery shopping, I go with a list. If it's not on the list, I don't get it. Except for those little coconut things with a little chocolate on. Those are really good. But other than that, I stick to my list. If I go shopping, the other day I was out and I saw this really nice pair of pants. And I was like, wow, that's a really nice pair of pants. but I don't have room for them in my house. So I don't want to get rid of the pants I have, so I'm not going to get them. I did, however, buy these shorts. I hope you like them. These are new. Thank you very much. Yeah. I actually do a lot of my shopping at weird places like Salvation Army, Goodwill. These were new. I got these at Ross. I don't know if you guys know about Ross, but yeah. I don't do a whole lot of name brand stuff, but I do what's comfortable. So when I bought a pair of shorts, that was great, and I'm really happy. I really like them, but I had to get rid of a pair of shorts. So it's rethinking how I shop. I don't just go in and go, wow, that's a nice pair of pants. I guess I'll buy 3 pairs because I may not be able to find this pair again. I don't do that. I buy what I need, and I let go of something else in exchange for it. So I'm not just adding stuff to my life. I'm replacing, and I'm making a change that way. I'm going to kind of go through these kind of quickly because I want to get to, I want to get people crying in the audience and stuff. Okay, another thing is eliminating debt. Anyone have debt that they worry about in their lives? Sucks, right? It's the worst. But it's how we've been trained. You've made it in the real world when you've got yourself a nice mortgage that you can't really afford, and you've got a job that you don't really like that's paying for this mortgage that you don't really need. Way to go, right? You've made it. So that's how you know you've hit the big time. And then when you get there, you kind of go, the big time sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go somewhere that's more comfortable. And that's kind of an experience that we had. We started looking around our house, Gabriella and I. Beautiful house. It was like we had made it. We were in the neighborhood we wanted to be in the town we wanted to be in. I've always wanted cherry cabinets because they're awesome and beautiful. I had those. It was great. And then we started realizing this is costing us way more than we want to spend. The amount of work we have to do to be able to pay for the house and the heating and the cooling and all those pieces that went with it, it was ridiculous. We started going around our house and looking at different rooms and saying, okay, how many square feet are in this room? What is this room? Do we ever go in this room? I don't even know what this room is. It stored my guitars, my banjo, my mandolin, and I would go in there and pick one up and go, okay, I'll play this. And I'd go into the other room and play it. So it was like a storage room that was costing us X number of dollars a month. So we started eliminating all that stuff out of our lives. We got rid of stuff. We got rid of houses. We got rid of vehicle. We got rid of stuff that had us in debt, and we were no longer in debt. And that's an amazing feeling. But is there anyone who's not in debt here? Let's start there. 2 weeks ago. All right, nice. That's why Jacob, right? Is that right? That's why he almost busted a gut when he said, yeah! Because he's done with his debt. That's great. So there's 2 different things. There's being out of debt. So you're eliminating debt. You can work towards that. You can take steps every day towards eliminating debt, which is a really important thing to do. Looking at what can I do? What can I make an extra payment here to get this debt away quicker? Can I do whatever it is, whatever steps you want to take? That's great. But you're still focusing on eliminating debt as opposed to creating openness or creating wealth. Those are 2 different things. And I'm not talking about financial wealth. Well, I am, but I'm not only talking about financial wealth. I'm talking about wealth of life, being able to do what you want to do, all of those pieces. Getting rid of something, eliminating something, removing something is still moving away from that thing as opposed to creating something bigger. Okay? So what I want to start moving towards here, and it's going to be a subtle move. You don't notice this computer, by the way. It's not here. It's just to give me some notes. I want to start moving into, I'm creating a new workshop. It's going to be a 2-day workshop. This is the second sort of snippet I've done of this. So we're going to kind of hope it works, and if it doesn't, then I'll fix it before I do the 2-day workshop. But it's called Creating Your Freedom. So it's not about eliminating or getting rid of, it's about creating something powerful. And one of the best ways to do that is to be honest. And it sounds easy, like, oh yeah, I'm honest all the time. Okay, really? How honest are you with yourself? Which is probably the hardest one. It's pretty easy for most people to be honest with other people to a certain extent. Does anyone resonate with that at all? Like you can be honest mostly, right? Are you honest mostly? I'm looking at you. Now I'm looking at you because you pointed at yourself. But no, I was looking at the guy in the gray here. But now the guy in the green is stepping up. So, all right, stand up, guy in the green. Here he goes. All right. So, you guys think Kai's up here or something? We're having people stand up. And no, you're not done yet. Keep standing. So in terms of your life, do you feel like you're pretty honest with people?
Try to be.
Try to be, okay. And that's a great honest answer. So what I was hoping you would say is, yeah, of course I am. And I would have been like, liar! I won't shame you anymore. You can sit down. Thanks. So there's a part about being honest that we can be honest to a certain extent in most places. And then sometimes that's a safe way to go. Like, it may not be a great idea to be 100% honest with everybody you meet, right? Because some people may totally take advantage of you, and that would be horrible. But there's also, the biggest piece for me is about the honesty within ourselves. So what's true for me? Who am I really? What are the stories I have going on in my mind? What is all that's happening behind the scenes? Has anyone ever heard of the concept of monkey mind? Does anyone know what that is? Here's that 16 years of Zen Buddhism. I don't know how Andrew knew that was going to happen. But so monkey mind is that sort of constant chatter that happens in your head. It's always going, right? It's always constantly there. It's saying something. Anyone ever pay any attention to it? Anyone know what it says? Yeah, you do? What does your monkey mind say? Everything. Non-stop. Exactly. So do this, do that, achieve this, do that. So everyone has different monkey mind, I think, but a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, their monkey mind tends to tell them that they suck. And they're not good enough, and whatever you're doing, it could be done better. Whatever that sounds like for you, you're not worthy, whatever it is. And it's amazing. I've worked with thousands of people over the years on these types of things. It's amazing how many people come back to that. I do myself. Like, I'm standing up here talking to you guys. I have no idea why you're listening to me right now, right? Because, like, I'm totally not worthy of any of your attention. That's the inner story my monkey mind is telling me. And I know that that's not true, and I've learned that that's not true, and I've tried to share with my kids that they can hear that monkey mind and move on beyond that, and it's sort of how we live our lives. But it takes courage to do that. It takes steps to want to move into that. But by doing that, and really understanding who I am, it allows me to prioritize joy in my life as opposed to prioritizing whatever this monkey mind is saying. Because if I'm paying attention to the monkey mind all the time, that's my life. That's the filter I'm living my life through. And that's horrible. I don't want to live it that way. I want to live through joy. Anybody else like joy? All right, you guys gave way more for the drone. Anybody like joy? That's way better. Okay, so who here... Who wants to stand up and tell us what joy means to them? Look at all those volunteers. That's amazing. All right, Sam, stand up. Oh, we have two. You're good. You're off the hook.
This is my twin sister who is turning 32 on Monday. She's just getting into the tiny house movement with me.
Nice. So twin sisters turning 32 on Monday. And the one who's totally embarrassed and still sitting on the ground is just getting into the tiny house movement right now. So we need her to stand up, right? Excellent. Welcome. So, I know for me, the joy of having you guys clap and seeing the two sisters kind of punching each other now, that's great. Right? That's a good example of joy. So there are lots of places that joy can show up in our lives. All right, anybody else? Someone okay, yeah, here, good.
My daughter thinks I should downsize, which I've been collecting for over 50 years of stuff. And every box that I've given away has just enlightened my life. I've given away 17 boxes of junk in the last 2 weeks, and why my friends are taking it off my hands, I will never know. But I just want to say, this is the most welcoming community that I've ever been a part of, and I just am so thrilled that my two daughters have decided that this is not only good for them in building their tiny house, but they found one for me, and I think we're going to become awesome builders. And thank you.
Did everybody hear that? What she said is that her two daughters are smarter than her, but she's getting there. Something like that. Something like that. That's awesome. Okay, so anyone have something that brings them joy, that they're aware of, that it's something it makes them really happy, but they don't actually do it? Anyone? Yeah? Go ahead. You know I'm going to make you stand up, so. So you're an artist. You're an artist, and rather than do your own art, you teach kids how to do art, and you put your own art aside. And so why do you do that? I'm really putting you on the spot now. Yeah. Right. Okay. So she works 60. Thank you. So she works 60 hours a week teaching kids how to do art, which, by the way, is awesome. But it doesn't leave her time to do her own art, right? So that's. I'm gonna sort of, if I'm wrong, tell me. But I'm gonna kind of coin this as that's a career decision. So your career is that you're teaching kids art, but the cost of that is that you don't get to do your own art, right? So these are the decisions, and I'm sure each and every one of us can find one of those in our lives where there's something that we love, that we know brings us joy, we know it brings us all the happiness that we want, but we don't do it because blah 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 blah. Right? It doesn't really matter why. We make these decisions. So. I'm going to go around a couple more people. So what brings you happiness? Like really makes you shine? Something that you're actually, something you're actually doing in your life. So you over here, yeah, what you have? Making films, and you actually do that? Okay, cool. That's great. Making films. Anybody else? We're just going to go popcorn and go through a few people, yeah. Not doing, but being. Just being. Great. Camping, okay. Awesome. Okay.
Being able to say yes, not being tied down.
Being able to say yes. Have you seen the Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man? Excellent, excellent, good. Way to put shame on me, I appreciate that. I gotta be able to take it back, right? That's only fair. Okay, so one of the things that I've learned in my own life is that and this is, I'm going to say, I'll speak for myself. If I'm passionate about something and I'm good at doing it, and it intersects with an interest or a need for that in the world, I can't help but be successful. No, so the point of what I'm saying here is like, for the last, I don't know how many years, I've been a builder for 20 years, I've been teaching for probably since 2004 or something like that. So I have a family of 4. We're living, you can sit down, Keith, sorry. we're living a comfortable life. We're happy with the life we have. And we've afforded that by teaching people how to build a house made out of straw. Nobody sees that that's weird. Right? Like that's, Tyler, what's up? Ron, hey guys, this is awesome. I'm seeing all these faces I know. This is wonderful. And there's Michelle right next to you. I didn't see you there first. So my point is that if you're passionate about something, go for it. Don't avoid doing it because you don't think you can make that work. If teaching kids art, I mean, I'm sure there's some joy in that as well, right? But there's also room for you to find place to do what you love for yourself. And if you can't find that within the sort of square or circle that you've drawn yourself into right now, then step out of that and see how can you make that change. Because it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve the kids, and I'm not picking on you, but it doesn't serve the children, it doesn't serve our friends, our family, if we're doing something that doesn't in some way bring us into our greater power of happiness and joy and openness. If anyone go to work and go, God, I hate going to this job. Anybody have one of those? Right. Why are you going still? I know that's a really mean question, sort of, and it's kind of obnoxious to me to ask in public, but I have to ask it. So who raised their hand on that? So why do you still go to that job? To pay bills. What bills do you have? All the debt that you're trying. Okay, so there's the cycle that we all have at one point created. Yeah. Anybody else go to work for a specific reason? Biding your time, paying as you go, getting your tiny house done, and then you'll be free of it. Okay, cool. So hopefully you're seeing a little bit of, or getting a little bit of a tidbit of understanding that we can set up our lives in different ways, right? And it may be that right now you may have to keep going to work that you don't like in order to pay for this, but it may not be. That may not be the thing. So my son and his best friend, they've been best friends since my son was like 4. They just sort of put together their first job, and I wasn't even going to tell this story, but I was just telling it over here, and I have to tell it now. They put together a hockey camp while they were home. They're both hockey players. Shout out to Tyler, who's also a hockey player right over there. So they put together a hockey camp for adults and for kids. And it's a 3-day camp. I went, which was weird because I used to coach my son, but now he's way better than me, so he coaches me. Having this camp experience, it was a lot of fun. They did a great job. They're totally passionate about what they do. They love ice hockey. This is their life, right? So at one point I was talking to Jasper, who's my son's best friend, and he said, I feel kind of bad because we're making all this money and I don't really feel like I'm working. It doesn't really seem fair. And like they were shocked when they saw that they made good money in 3 days. And I said, well, remember that. Like that's how you should go out into the world in terms of finding work. Is you should never feel like you're working. I don't. When I go to workshops, I mean, you probably attest to this. We'll be sitting around the campfire drinking a beer or having a good time, and people will be talking and laughing. I'll go, hey, shut up! I'm working right now. It's like that's my job, and I love it, and I'm totally grateful for what I've created for myself and for what Gabriella actually was her idea. So, what Gabriella created for me. Yeah. All right. Since I'm making people stand up, Gabriella, get up here. This is like her worst nightmare. So this is Gabriella. You probably know her from, yeah, thank you. So one of the things where I feel bad is that I'm kind of the face of the tiny house build thing, and the reality is she does way more than I do. I build, that's what I do, but she's amazing. So anytime, if anyone of you ever emailed us and you've gotten a response really quickly, you know it's from her. If you've emailed and you haven't gotten a response for like 3 weeks, yeah, that was me. So that's the reality. She's amazing. She is the force behind this, and she keeps me on track, and she's amazing, and I love her. So there you go. That wasn't in the slides, but we'll stick with it. Okay, a couple other examples I want to share. So, anyone ever hear of Chris Guillebeau? Anyone know that name? Yeah. So he's a pretty amazing guy. This guy had this vision of he wanted to travel to every country in the world. But that's kind of hard to do if you're working at Home Depot or Applebee's or something. So he had to figure out for himself how could he pay his way to do this. And he came up with some incredible ideas. He learned how to use the system of buying a credit card that gives you miles and then paying that off with the one that gives you extra cash to buy this. And he did all these things. And then he was like, this is amazing. I need to tell people. So he started writing books about how to do it. And his books went crazy, and he sold books all over. And then he wrote another book about how to write a book and sell it. No, he didn't really do that. But the idea is that he funded his traveling to every country in the world. And he's done it, by the way. He made his dream. So to be able to do that, he started with nothing. He didn't have a business that said, we want to send you and write travel reports for us. That wasn't how he did it. He made it his own way. So that's another example. This one we just found through our shopping cart, actually. They send us newsletters about other people who in the business are doing their own thing. This company, and if you're out here, because I don't know who you are, if you're out here, stand up, because this is wicked awesome. They are making $50,000 a month by selling electronic doll clothing patterns. I know, right? Doll clothing. I didn't know there's that many dolls in the world, but apparently there are. And they all need clothes. Yeah, now we get it, yeah. So, how many people thought that, I got a good business idea. Let's make clothing for dolls. That's going to make us totally wealthy. Like, really? So it's not about what it is. It's, again, they're passionate about it, they're good at it, and apparently it intersects with a need for it in the market somewhere, which I don't know about, but apparently that's it. So I talked about my shorts earlier. I got this new pair of shorts, right? Everyone was excited about them. I was, at least, I don't know. And so one of the things I hate about shorts, and I don't know, any men, you can maybe chime in and help me out here, otherwise I'll stand here by myself feeling this way. Anyone notice that shorts have gotten longer and longer and longer, right? And like I'm starting to think maybe I'll get them like to here, and then they're almost pants. I cannot find shorts that are actually short. What did you say?
Good, we don't want to see it.
Somebody else said chubbies. Who said that? Back there. All right, look at this guy. Look at the thighs on that guy. So that's exactly the company I was going to talk about, is Chubbies. So Chubbies, there's some guys, I think they were from Stanford, who decided to come up with, break into a totally easy market to break into, apparel, right? And there's not a lot of that out there, so they figured this will be a good idea. So they went into the apparel market and they made these shorts that are actually short. It's amazing. It's the only pair I can find. I was in town and Gabrielle goes, no, you need to go to Sports Authority. They'll have short shorts. No, they don't have them. I went to all these different stores. They're all like this. Chubbies. That's the way to go. Do you work for Chubbies? No. Just wear them? Yep. Nice. So Yeah, again, you think that the apparel market, there's no way you're going to break in with a pair of shorts and become like this huge successful company. They've done that. They're a totally successful company. They're passionate about it, they're good at it, and it intersects with the need in the market. So again, that's where we go. So some of the things we were talking about earlier with making a change, right? So you've got this job that you don't like, you have to go because you got to pay out your debts. Making a change is going to be risky at some level. Anybody resonate with that? Cool. One person raised their hand. That made me feel like I could actually see them. That was good. So the reality is it is risky. It's risky because you're going to end up potentially in a situation where you can't pay your bills. Now what? That's a risk. But there's also other risks. There's the risk of being vulnerable and being open and having to stand in that sort of fear that might show up. And then be that way with your friends, be that way with people who you know around you. Maybe it's not your friends, but maybe it's people at work. However that shows up, it can be scary. Anyone go through a big change in their life? Well, I'm in a tiny house moving, of course you have. Anyone go through a big change in their life recently that was kind of scary? Well, like 9 of you? Really? That's it?
I scare easy.
Peter scares easy. Everyone just like poke him on the way out. It'll be fun. So a couple of things. One of the things that I heard several years ago that just literally, well, not literally because I'd be dead, but I was going to say literally blew my mind. But it really expanded my mind in a big way. And it was the definition of the word power or powerful. Anyone have in their mind what the definition of powerful might be? You don't have to say it, but if you have it, just like play with me and say, yeah, I have one. Thank you. Huh? Being independent. Cool, that's a good definition. So most of us, when we think of powerful, at least in my experience of talking with people over the years, it's not typically, it's more about like sort of the, I'm powerful. You know, that I talk like this because I'm powerful. Right? So it's almost this like overbearing, sort of overly masculine, yeah, that kind of thing. So this definition that I heard was to stand openly in my vulnerability. And that completely blew my mind. If you can stand openly in your vulnerability, that's, to me, there is nothing more powerful than that, because it's saying, look, this is who I really am. This is me without all my filters. This is me without all of the, I have to look good, or I have to be cool, or I have to be whatever that is. This is just me, and it's like I'm here in front of you. And that can be really terrifying, but it's a very, very, very empowering place to be. So I recommend that you try that. I talked earlier about how I have the story that I'm not good enough, and that's, you know, there aren't a lot of people, first of all, does anyone really love public speaking? I do. Does anyone else really? So it's like the most common fear is like public speaking, right? People would rather die than speak publicly. So imagine doing public speaking and then going, I'm going to stand up in front of a bunch of people and tell them that I'm not good enough to be talking to them, right? Like that's not normal. But it's important for me to share that because it's true for me. You know, that's how it is. So I'm telling you that because I'm kind of hoping you're going to join me here a little bit and go a little deeper. There's a statement that fear is an excuse. Anyone ever hear that? I said that to Darren the other day because he had like, I don't know, 15,000 people coming to an event, and you know, he's a little nervous. I'm like, this is an excuse. You're fine. I mean, it's a damn good excuse, but it's an excuse, right? It really is. Fear is an excuse. It can be useful. It can be powerful. It can be, so if you have a fear of tigers, okay, like you know, Gabriel has a fear of tigers he told me about, right? Isn't that? Yeah, they're scary. So if you have a fear of tigers, that makes a lot of sense if you're standing in a tiger cage and it's really pissed off and hungry and it's coming right at you. But if you're in downtown Colorado Springs and you're worried about tigers, it's probably not that relevant. And I use that as an example because it's so obviously stupid, but that's a lot of the way that we walk through the world is we have fears. I'll use the royal we, I hope you don't mind. I'm pulling you into this with me. We have fears, and a lot of them are not sort of in any kind of reality whatsoever. They're just fears that we've created for ourselves over the years. They're stories that we're telling ourselves. So one of the things I tell people is if you're going to create a story, then at least create a good one, right? So it's all stories. Whatever happens in the future, it's all a story. I'm scared this might happen. I'm scared I may not be able to make my mortgage payment. I'm scared I may not find love in my life. I'm scared I may not do this. Cool, you can have all those stories, but maybe go, I can't wait because I have so much money, I can pay 2 of my mortgages. That's going to be awesome. Or I'm going to find so many women that love me, it's going to be annoying. Right? I mean, there's ways you can go. It's still a story. It doesn't really matter. It's just a story you're making up. So, and then it's a message. Susan Jeffers has a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Anyone ever read that book? You have? Yeah? I haven't read it. I just like the title. I got to be honest. She doesn't remember anything she reads, so apparently she read it, but she doesn't remember. Thank you for your honesty. So I have never read it, but I love the title of the book. it makes a lot of sense to me, because the reality is I'm not going to stop feeling fearful around things in my life. I'm still going to feel that fear. It's just a question of, am I willing to push through that and do what I need to do anyway. So that's what I'm going to ask you guys to do today, is kind of step through that. Because once you step through that fear, in fact, Jack Canfield, what does he say? He says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. You guys know who Jack Canfield is? Yeah.
My boss's uncle.
Jack Canfield is her boss's uncle. Yeah. Now you guys are twins, so does that hold true for you too, or does it not work that way? I just want to keep pulling her into it because it's great. You get like all embarrassed. I love it. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, everything's on the other side of fear. So if you can move through fear and recognize that it's just an emotion, it's just a feeling, it's also a message. Okay, so if you can start clarifying that message, one of the things that I've learned over the years is that, let's say as the example I brought up earlier, that I can't pay my mortgage, or I have a fear that I can't pay my mortgage, right? So that's just a message. So the fear might be that I don't have enough money, or I'm going to run out of money. Really, what that message is telling me is actually the opposite of that. It's telling me that I want to be in a place where I'm financially secure. I'm not scared that I'm going to run out of money. I want to be over here. When I say it that way, it doesn't feel as bad. Remember earlier when I talked about eliminating debt is kind of a negative, you're always kind of eliminating, getting rid of, as opposed to creating wealth. So it's the same thing. If you feel like you're afraid of something, what's the message it's trying to tell you? It's leading you towards what you actually want in your life. And if you put your attention on that, that starts to show up. Anyone ever have that experience in their life? Totally, right? So I can tell you, when we were looking for land, we had a little bit of money that we wanted to buy land with, and we thought, well, it's not enough money to buy in Ashland, Oregon, where we live. It's too expensive there. There's no way. Let's take a look. So we look online, and we find a property. It's literally perfect for what we want, and it has a 114 square foot cabin on it with a little kitchenette, and it's basically a tiny house on the property. Really? That's going to show up when we're looking to build our tiny house on a piece of land? Like, that's crazy. It showed up because we were open to it. We were ready. We were looking for something in a positive way. We were saying, yes, this is going to happen for us, and it did. And that's my experience in life. That's how things happen. So, all right, so who's going to stand up and do a little work here? This is going to be fun. Maybe. Could be terrifying. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Anyone? Well, we got one here. You can go next, but yeah, great. Okay, awesome. Sure, why not? What's your name? Carla? Carla's the one who I made fun of earlier. She's actually really smart. Her daughters are smart too. And she's amazing because she's standing up. So, okay, what are you passionate about?
Being creative.
Being creative. And is that something that you do in your life on a day-to-day basis, being creative?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So you used to be creative, but not so much anymore.
I make dolls and costumes.
You make dolls and costumes. You happen to own a business that makes $50,000 a month making doll clothing? Is this just by chance? See, you ask and it shows up. This is what I'm telling you. So, okay, so what, would you want to keep doing that? Would you want to be more creative in your life? So what gets in the way of you being creative?
Space.
Space?
Having too much stuff in my space.
Having too much stuff. So you have too much stuff so you can't be creative. Okay, so maybe that's true. What about at a deeper level? So if you have stuff, you could just move the stuff and be creative, right?
Yeah, but that's not a word. I'm trying to eliminate so I can create.
Okay. So you want to eliminate so that you can create. So in order to do that, you have to work, and you don't really feel like working because you want to create. So you're kind of trapped right now in that space.
I'm in a circle.
Right. So there's something that's keeping you in that circle. So it may be a fear of success, or it may be a fear of failure if you're creative. Failure. Okay. So what happens if you fail?
Start over.
Okay. So that's not too bad. What's the bad story? If you fail, does it mean something about you? You're a failure. You tried to do something, you didn't succeed. I'm just putting words in your mouth right now. Yeah, it's fun. No. I don't want it to be about me. I'm asking you. So I'm just giving examples.
If I fail, I would just try a different way.
Okay.
I just don't have enough. Well, I've got the talent, and I've got the confidence. I don't have the know-how.
Okay, so you have the talent, the confidence, not the know-how. So there's something stopping you from just stepping into doing it. At first you said it was the space, you had too much space, too much stuff.
And money has a lot to do with it.
Okay, so there's also something else that's stopping you from just stepping into it. with Carla, you were able to get to a place where you kind of could see, oh, this could be what's in the way, this could be what's in the way, and that's great, and you can move forward. A lot of times when we come up against stuff, we end up, what was your name?
Erin.
Erin. We end up where Erin is, where we go, I don't know, there must be something, but I don't know what it is. And finding out what that is can be really hard. It can be really easy, or it can be really hard. But the key is that it's about being willing to look and willing to go deeper into that place. So you may find yourself sitting down one day and thinking, you know, I could be playing music right now, and then when you decide not to, stop and say, okay, what decision am I making right now? Because there's a decision that's being made at the level of like, oh, I have to go clean the kitchen. And then there's a decision that's underneath that going, thank God I have to clean the kitchen, because otherwise I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And that's the one that you want to talk to.
It's easier.
Yeah. Cleaning the kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for all of us, we have those moments where we can do that, where we can stop and really take note of what's happening down here, as opposed to at the, oh, this is easy, I'll just do this. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that everything you want is on the other side of fear, right? I did talk about that. Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, like all 78 versions of it. It's a pretty cool book. And I mentioned Jim Carrey earlier. I asked if you had seen The Yes Man, and he said, no, I don't watch TV, which is great. Jim Carrey gave an amazing graduation speech. Has anyone seen this on YouTube? If you haven't, check it out. So he talked about, was it Maharishi School? Is that where it was? Well, it's not just your school. Gabriella went there too, okay? Yeah, a long time ago. So this speech was amazing. And I won't do the whole thing because it's a long speech, but one of the things that really resonated with me is he talked about his dad. His dad was an amazingly funny guy. He was hilarious. Weird, right? Jim Carrey's dad would be funny. It's weird. But his dad was not willing to do humor professionally because he was too scared to fail at it. He was totally passionate about it. He was really good at it, but he was too scared to push through the fear and actually try to make a living out of that. So he took the easy route, right? He took the I'm going to go do the dishes route. He went in and he got a job working for a company. It was very safe. Everything was good. He had a paycheck every week. He lived this safe life. He lived his whole life this way. And then he got fired. They downsized and they just shut down his division, and he was fired, and he had nothing. And so what he learned from that experience was that you can still end up with absolutely nothing if you take the safe, easy route. So if you have a choice, you say, this is where my passion lies. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to teach people how to build straw bale houses. I want to teach people how to build tiny houses. This is what I'm passionate about. And I've gone that way, and I'm embracing it, and I love it. But I could totally fail. You guys could all walk away and leave. Like when Andrew said, hey, where are you guys going? I was like, oh, God, they're all leaving. They were just here for Zach. So that could happen. You go this way, and I say, well, I'm not going to do that. It's not worth the risk, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to go work for a company, and I could still end up in the same exact place, except I spent my entire life doing something I hated. So why would I choose that? Why would anyone choose that? So the point of that is to encourage you guys to find your passion, and most of us don't even really know what we're passionate about until we stop and listen and start paying attention. So pay attention. Find out what you're passionate about. Go for it. And if you totally flop, so what? You went for it, and so now you're just in another place where you're right back where you were anyway, so you may as well start again, right? Carla was saying, if she fails, she'll just pick up and start again. I don't want to make this political, so I'm not going to talk about any names, but there are some people out there who have declared bankruptcy several times. And one of the things that people like that person, and other people that I've heard who have become successful have said is it's not about succeeding, it's about not giving up. So that's a different approach, right? Like if you try something and you fail, it's not over. It just didn't work that way. So there's another way you can choose. So live your passion, share your passion, be the beacon of light for people to follow. We're all here today because there are beacons of light that we followed here, right? So be that light for the next person, be that light for yourself, and bring your passion to the world, because we all need everyone's passion. Thanks, guys.